this is Trina, Assistant Clerk's first meeting on her own, and we're wishing her the best.
Mayor Fred Gunther,
Here.
Commissioners Lorraine James,
Here.
Amanda Johnson,
Here.
David Rhodes,
Here.
Karen Simmons,
Here.
Mark Gifford.
Here. They don't count, Trina. Thank you. Could we all stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
Changes or anything?
No changes.
Thank you. Minutes of the May 19th meeting. We all had plenty of time to read those. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
And a second. Questions, additions, corrections? Anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. No special orders, no study session. Public comment not related to items on the agenda. Please.
Wendy Nystrom, 530 Winter Avenue. I've been listening that there's some housing developments that are coming, and I was just curious, is the city gonna require that they put in proper electricity for a plug-in EV car? Is that part of, you don't have to answer me, cause I know this is public comment, but
We haven't gotten that far yet, Wendy.
but I think it's something we should really think about in the future, because I have friends that are like on their third EV car, and they're gonna become used car sales. And this house is, and you have to have your house updated in order to plug in your EV car. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Mark? That's one that I will forget if you don't.
Oh, yeah, no, I won't forget now that you brought it up, but I couldn't say that that's something I was thinking about ahead of time, so
That's good.
yeah.
Paul Griffith, any comments?
We'll see. No.
Rosemary, anything? You're the only two visitors we have. None? Thank you. No public hearing, general business. There's a resolution before us to adopt the fiscal year general appropriations budget. Is there a motion for that?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion, support, now discussion. We had an open hearing last meeting, those sorts of things. Anyone? Questions on the budget? I had a long discussion, I'm gonna bring it up, Mark. I had a long discussion with Mark today about whether a city needs a finance committee. Every board I've ever been on has a finance committee where the details of things like the budget and those kind of things are discussed in detail, which would not be appropriate at a full city commission meeting unless we wanted to.
Does the county have one?
Yes, yeah. Often the chairman of the commission's the chairman of the finance committee, I think. Is that right, Wendy? Or could be anyone.
The administrator needs and a county commissioner,
Two commissioners to,
commissioners
two?
have to at least
So it's just something I thought we should all,
be more than three, so.
should think
I go
about.
to the meetings.
Okay.
I'm on the park commission and we have a finance committee that does go over the budget and other things related.
It's just something I think we should think about as time passes. Not for this budget, obviously, but at the hospital, I think the finance committee was way the most influential committee at the hospital. And it was run by Dwayne Schaefer when I was there, and it was, all business. But anyway, something to think about.
Mayor, I always feel like budget comes around and we've never, as a commission, spent a lot of time talking about it.
That's what led me to
And I
that.
say this to the city manager every year, there's gotta be a different way to do this where
That's where I thought the same way, cause I always ask dumb questions, and then if we had a finance committee, then the five of us could be assured the finance committee has studied it.
Well,
Well, yeah, you
We're
could break it
small.
down.
Hmm?
You could break it down by components.
Anything, the way we do it, we can't up here ask detailed questions. We can, but it doesn't seem right at this level to ask certain types of questions about the budget. You know, if it were a finance committee, that's just my thought. Anybody else have a question, thought on it? No? Just a thought. Did we vote yet?
No, not yet.
Could we call the question, please?
Need a motion.
You didn't make a
Did we make a motion?
I seconded it.
Yeah, we have
Yes,
a
we
motion
did.
and
We
a
did a
second.
motion.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
You gotta ask.
There.
Yes, yes. Can't forget the mayor. All right,
Still,
there you go, Carla, your budget's approved.
Well, I have to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
To the commission as a whole, Mark, of course, Michelle, and Brittany, they're all part of it, and all the other department heads as well.
Very good. It's complicated and long and difficult. Thank you. Now, the next is the final permit to install and maintain the sewer to the Depot Park Pavilion. That's been long in coming. Mark, do you want to do the short, long haul?
Happy to, Mayor. Yes, so the sewer line that we need to connect the new restroom building to is on the east side of the trail. And to get connected to it, we need to cross it and therefore connect it. And the state is asking for a permit and actually an easement to get there. We applied in early to, I think it was on maybe February 11th or right around that time frame. And it's just been a long process. The contractor is well underway. They did paving today and they're chomping at the bit to make this connection, as it's one of the final components that we obviously need to do. We were sent a contract from the state that, and I think you got, not in the packet, but afterwards in an email. And Brad's reviewed it, and Todd Richter's reviewed it, and there are a number of things in there that we would hope maybe could get changed. We've sent those changes back to the state. We have not heard back on whether they would accept any of them or any of those types of things. So we bring this to you tonight in what we really don't see as its final form, but we're in a hurry, for lack of a better term. So the way Brad crafted the resolution is it gives me the ability, if you're comfortable with that, to be able to sign it if we can get some of the changes, or if we can't, or sign it as is. I think it leaves it more to my discretion than maybe we would normally do. One of the questions I asked Brad before the meeting started is, could we, if we were really passionate about one particular change, like I know the one that Brad brings up all the time is it talks about paying rent in here. We're not gonna pay rent, but it's probably a holdover for some other contract that, was left in there. And could we then, draft or we'd have to type up the contract, retype it up, I think we have it in an Adobe file, and make the change ourselves, sign that and send it back. That may be an option too, but that's where we're at, Mayor, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have some.
I mean, the state is the state, right?
Yes,
Like,
it's the way it seems.
we can ask all we want, but,
Well, I asked the obvious question, what if we just hook the sewer line out?
yeah, don't do that, don't do that,
The fines were a little higher than I thought we'd wanna pay,
don't do that.
Yeah.
but the line's there, you just,
Right.
the problem is if the developer goes home, where is he? Grand Rapids?
They're Zealand, I think they're out of, yeah.
If he has to come back, it may be a cost to the city because it's not in his contract, but he has to go back and forth because of the slack. He hints that, we should have applied for that earlier. My gosh, February.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the way you?
Yeah, you summarized it well, very well.
Heather's not here. Has he been voicing?
There's been grousing for some time. I mean, they would have made the connection already, or a long time ago, actually, but we're waiting on this agreement to be.
And Mark I know you have made some phone calls to people that supposedly can help you get that done.
I have, yeah, but it's slow. It's just, I'm sure getting permits from all corners of the state, so, for whatever reason, it's slow.
So there's a chance that the sewer line could not be hooked up by the ribbon cutting.
Boy.
That's later this
There's-
month.
Yeah,
Well, now that you said it out loud, Mayor, of course there's a chance.
I think there is. But we think we'll go through with it, huh? Just don't flush. Do I hear a motion for the resolution approving the operating agreement between the city and DNR?
So moved.
Second.
Other comments, questions? Anything, Paul, out of I thought you had all this influence on the trail and you could just get this done for us.
Yeah, the brief history is there've always been easements, okay? And someone in Lansing at some, past time said since it's a rail to trail and all rails to trails owned by the state are in a rail bank, like a land bank, and they can be brought back as a rail. Someone in Lansing, obviously probably the AG's office, said, we want an operating agreement and not an easement. And that's where you got caught. So future reference, an operating agreement takes a whole lot longer to get than an easement.
Thank you. Others? Anyone? Could you call the question, please?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes.
All right, the excavator is gonna be there in the morning. No, just-
You could dig it with a shovel.
Get up, right?
I'm gonna start with a shovel tonight.
There you go. Next is the resolution regarding the Michigan Department of Transportation and Mark.
yeah, I just would like to start at saying, how well Megan Epley and Michelle's department, is doing at just finding things that might work out for us in terms of grant funding, and you had in your email from today that she had submitted, to Senator Peters' office for the, fire truck. She's working very hard for the city, so doing a very nice job. And this one is a great one. This is a program that is designed just for this type of work. We actually were able to use this one other time on Bailey Drive. I'm almost certain it was the same program. And we're looking at Monroe. We've talked about that before. Monroe Avenue is the last gravel street in the city. It's part in the township, part in the city, and we have an estimate to do some work. I think that estimate will grow over time as we investigate water lines and sewer lines and things. That's not a part of this, but this application would be a great boost to getting the Monroe Street paving done. I know the township's been very positive about helping. They haven't committed a number yet, but Supervisor Borkovich has just been a good partner and very much helpful in our discussion. So this application, again, would really help get us going, and $250,000 we would have to match, obviously, but the project will be substantially larger than, matching is not gonna be an issue, so I just think it's a great, it's great work being done, and look forward to seeing whether we get it, if the commission chooses.
Very good. Others? Questions from anyone? Is there a motion for the MDOT grant to help Monroe Street?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Further questions? If you've been down Monroe after a rain, it's embarrassing because the water runs right down and then right through somebody's yard. And if we don't sandbag it, it'll get into their basement, and this one needs to get done.
Very much so.
All right, call the question, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, Carla, you'll be popular with raising the sanitation rates.
Yes,
Could you tell us about it?
sure,
We talked about it before.
yes, we did. So, we have to do this every year, and we do 1 year at a time, because as you know, it goes up every year. That's part of their contract, and it's more expensive to show all the years than to just show 1 year at a time when it's published. So that's why we do it this way. So it's about it's a 4.5% increase, so that's what we're asking you to approve. So it's based on the residential and the commercial rates.
Questions, anyone? Average household would pay how much more than?
It's $1 something. It's not,
Yeah, it was like $1.18,
Yeah,
if I
yes.
remember right.
Questions from the commission? Public? Here's the motion. If this is an ordinance, it has to be approved by 4 votes. Is there a motion for the ordinance adopting the new sanitation rates?
So move.
Motion second, questions? Anything else, Mark, you can think of?
Nope.
Hearing no questions, roll call please.
Susan?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rhodes?
Yes.
Unscheduled business anyone has before we go to, work session? The work session was my idea because we don't have some set plans or rules for that next developer who comes along. But it's also very important because who knows in 2 years if the Simmons Industries then becomes another question. So I'm trying to look ahead and see what's gonna happen. Simons has asked us if we're interested in buying the Simons building. We don't think so. Mark doesn't think so.
Donate.
Well, but then we,
Then we're landlords again.
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna talk about this. Are we gonna
Property
get the
owners.
square, Mark?
I think we're okay if
think
you,
we're
if
fine.
we're happy to go wherever you would like,
I'm fine.
okay?
But that is the next question, you know, how many millions would it take to pull that one down? So let's start with Hanchett. The last Hanchett endeavor, we had a developer came in and wanted to put in a pretty good sized development. And some of it was income-based, housing, and there was kind of a large uprising about putting income-based housing on that property. It failed for lack of support from the city and the commission. But I think that is the first issue that has to be addressed by all of us, and we need to speak our piece, that if somebody wants to develop that land, can some of it be income-based or not? And if this, commission says, no, we're not gonna fight that battle, then we should tell developers so they don't spend their time here.
Well, if we didn't want housing, what would it be? I think that's part of the conversation too.
That's exactly right, correct.
You know, we keep coming back to a housing shortage, we keep coming back to the missing middle. I think what the master plan shows and the different types of housing that we've been talking about, mixed use, townhouses, things like that, are what makes a lot of sense here. I don't know that we're gonna have a developer come in and wanna build anything that isn't tied to some sort of income-driven component. I still would like to see an updated housing study. Because, you know, the housing commission will come and tell us that there isn't a need for housing, and that's not necessarily a scientific study that they've done. They're just calling some people up and asking if people need houses, and that's not what we want. We also have a housing study from it was pre-COVID, right?
Yes.
That might have been a good fit for a city the size of Grand Rapids, but didn't really present information in a meaningful way for a city the size of Big Rapids and for a commission our size. So I'm in favor of housing. I don't think we rezone it to be industrial. Certainly that doesn't make any sense. I don't think going commercial alone makes sense. If that had been the case, we would have done a gas station a couple of years ago. But I need more data, and I think a developer is going to need more data about what type of housing we might want there.
Michelle, in your handout today, you had quite a list of things that are eligible for that property.
Yes. For what the master plan talked about, so the land uses that the master plan, cause in the new master plan, this area gets designated as the neighborhood, district. And so neighborhood mixed use allows for large variety. It's similar to our RP district now, which everyone I think knows, but it expands it to allow more than what our RP does. Our RP is pretty confining. But that's just the land use. Right now, it's zoned R3, which only allows for residential uses. So with the zoning it has right now, it doesn't allow for any kind of commercial use on the property.
I think,
Other commissioners, go ahead.
yeah, I think anything we can do to make the property more enticing for a developer makes sense. So if it's a mixed use,
Well, and that's some discussion we can have during our, cause we're in the process of
Correct.
starting our zoning, rewriting our zoning ordinance. That's some of the process discussion we can have during that process is, do you want to craft a zoning district that kind of meets what you're thinking for the Simons and Hanchett area? Since we know that is the next redevelopment area of the community.
The question that always comes up for me from citizens is the site, as it is now, satisfactory for residential use? Or is there more that has to be done to that site so people can live there? And you know I'm referring to the contamination.
Right, so
who's right, who's wrong on this one?
we gave the analysis to Trevor, who is our brownfield consultant from Fleece. And he analyzed what's been done, and he says it does have a residential restriction on it, but it doesn't specify what kind of residential. He said with the type of contamination that's there, you could do some residential. You'd be better off if you had mixed use, so that you'd have commercial on the bottom and then some residential on top, and it's probably gonna require some kind of vapor barrier. But unlikely for single family home or park use without doing some more mitigation on the property.
And do you know what that is? Do we know what that contamination is? Just industrial contaminants from Hanchett?
It sounded mostly like vapor, like it was a vapor concern. Cause he said that the first thing a developer would likely do is retest it to see how much contamination is still there, since it's been sitting for so long. There's a chance that over time, some of it has dissipated into the air naturally.
so the odds that it's this polluted site are very, very low. I mean, when it was cleared and all of the work was done and they removed all the soils, I don't think we're talking about a site that is, we'd still have to haul off more earth, and like Michelle said, it's just a mitigation, some sort of vapor barrier on concrete, which is 100% normal in construction. You said the commercial would be more down towards the bottom of the hill,
Well, just
or?
Bottom of the
having
building, I think.
commercial on the bottom level
Oh, okay.
help
Okay.
mitigate some
Alright.
of the contamination.
I think the other thing that came up in the other development offer had to do with the number of units in their proposal, and it was like a lot more units. So if we're talking about, yeah,
It was 250
it was very
or
dense,
something.
that's the word
Dense,
I'm looking
very
for, it was
dense.
very dense. I would think we would wanna try to put out what kind of density we're looking for as well to a developer.
I know for my part, I have always been a fan of neighborhood mixed use for that property location and would definitely consider the Simmons building to be one that I would I would like that over there as well. Just to open up the opportunity for growth and development. But I agree with Commissioner Simmons about maybe reducing the density in the structure. That was definitely something that was concerning to me when it was presented the first time is, you know, having that many people, maybe you can structurally hold them there, but that's a lot of traffic for a very tight road system.
Yeah,
Lorraine,
and,
any thoughts?
No, just listening.
Okay.
um,
So this is something that I've been thinking about. I actually spent many sleepless mornings thinking about this lately. One thing that I think that kind of came to my mind this morning that I think we need to think about too is that when we sat down and did the strategic planning earlier this year, we talked about the east side and developing the east side. And I think these two properties right here will be could be a good cornerstone of developing that east side. It could be, I mean, I've kicked around different ideas about, I thought of this one today about, one thing we don't seem to have anymore here in town is we don't have like a, better lack of term, convention hall or somewhere that, can have conventions and stuff like that. But then the other thing that keeps coming to mind, and I drove by on Saturday when I was in Cadillac, is if you drive in Cadillac now, they have those, I think it's Cadillac Flats or whatever, the new development right downtown by the, and I was thinking of that, that would be something great for this property too, because it has the commercial use on the bottom, I think there's Papa John's, all kinds of different businesses on the bottom. And then I was looking on their website today to kind of check out their apartments, and they have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. My coworker is mentioning one thing she'd like to see maybe us work on is getting something more for like her and her hubby want to retire here soon, but there's not really any place like a retirement. I mean, they got a house, but they don't want to have a house when they get ready to retire. They want to have a place where they can move in, and that's something. If she was saying her husband's a professor of affairs, if we had something like that, maybe we could keep more of the professors in town too, because they have these 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, well, not 1 bedroom, maybe 2 bedroom, places, or even 1 bedroom places that professors that some of them are retirees or whatever, getting close to retiring. They can move into these, places and it'd be something that would be nice. And I just think that there's so much potential, like I said, especially if we want to really, when I said about the strategic planning and developing the east side, I think this could be a great way to get somebody in there that could develop this, make this kind of be the cornerstone of the east side.
With a garage. Parking.
it's kind of like the concepts done by Smith Group. You've got concept 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4 a little bit higher, so higher up, and have parking below grade.
So what I'm hearing on this one, Mark, is that we're still wide open to anything. I don't hear anybody saying, no, we're not doing
Yeah,
base, we keep wide open and approach every developer as such.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about was, we have the brook that is out by Menards. There's always a need for more senior living, and assisted living. That could be, a nice chunk of this property too, certainly not the whole thing. I also wonder if we should break it into smaller, I don't wanna say bundle it, but parcels. There's positives and negatives to that too. Maybe somebody doesn't want the whole thing, maybe for what they're thinking, they just wanna build, 2 5-unit townhouses or something like that. Not that that's bad or good, just maybe parcels might be the way to look at it as well.
Michelle, do you have a thought in your brain that you need to know what the commission's thinking on X, Y, or Z to get an opinion before you bring something that gets either accepted or rejected?
I think what I'm hearing is everyone's pretty open. I'm not sure we discussed the income situation, if we're going how we feel about the income-based housing.
I don't think there will be a developer who comes without it. That's the way I
That's
see
how
it.
they get state money.
That's how they get state money.
Well, and
That's, I think, the way it's gonna be.
all
Certain
housing is
percentage has to
income,
be income based
yeah.
for them to get state money.
I would really like a housing study.
Is the zoning appropriate for mixed use now, or is there another zoning district that it should be rezoned to allow for mixed use?
The zoning district is not appropriate for mixed use right now. It's only allows for residential uses and a few, public uses, but it doesn't really allow for any kind of business type uses on the property. To do mixed use like we're talking about, you would have to go to almost what our downtown is zoned to allow a mixed use type building there.
I think we wait until we go through the zoning study, because otherwise we'll probably have to rezone it then.
Yeah, my only thought is that developers often look at what it's gonna cost to rezone when they're deciding, so if you zone it the way you want it to look, then it's more attractive to those developers when they come, as opposed to having them ask for it and then have to pay to go through that process. So just a thought.
I would also be in support of another housing study. How much would that cost? Do we have a rough idea of
She checked it a while back.
what that
$25,000
would cost? So
ballpark.
I don't think that that's money,
poorly spent considering the
Yeah, no, I
drastic
think it's-
changes since
it's-
pre-COVID.
yeah, I think that that's money definitely well spent.
We can certainly work on commissioning another one and bids.
What does the realtor say? Can't sell it. What do they say? What, you gotta,
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard what would be better. I've heard that the people that have approached him outside of Crest Oil, which we're all very familiar with, have all been housing type developments. And I think to a person or to a company have all been income based. That's the way I understand it.
But you can also set the parameters of what types of income-based housing and what the percentage is and the density, and I think we should do that once we have the housing study and we go through the zoning effort, rezoning effort.
Michelle, what's on the street? I still haven't heard that everybody said we have so much housing in Big Rapids, it's no problem to find a rental.
I have not heard
I
that.
haven't heard that.
No, we have no, it'd be hard pressed to wanna move to our city and find a place to live while you figure out where you wanna buy property.
For sure.
I guess that's the directive.
Okay.
I wanna sell my house and be in a rental, but there's no rentals.
That's what I'm saying,
No, there aren't
that's what
any
I'm
either.
saying, there's,
And I'd prefer to stay in the city, but there's no rentals, single level with a garage.
I heard also
Decent price range.
that Nesbit Fairman are, what percent has to be income based? It's quite a high percent.
Oh, yeah.
Like the folks in there, it's over almost 90% are income based.
I could quote the units wrong, but I think it's 48 units and maybe 5 or 7 or something are market rate. Again, that might not be
That's right.
exactly right, but it's something similar to that.
Very good. Now let's shift gears a little bit up to Simon's. It wasn't on the agenda, but we're gonna throw it into Hanjin. It's right across the street. They have asked us if we'd like to make an offer on the property. I didn't think this commission would be real hot to pay money for that particular property. And if, in the long run, chance it'll be a sheriff's sale. They'll quit paying taxes because they're going to put it on the market. I don't know how long they'll keep it on the market to try to sell it. Mark, what do you think? Are we gonna meet, did you talk to him?
I emailed him back, Mayor, and asked if we could get together, so I'm assuming we'll be this week or next. They're only here through the end of June?
They're almost done, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But the question is, how much much did it cost to tear down Hanchett and do whatever remediation it was? $1 million, more than $1 million?
Yeah, but Mayor, that was
How many years?
15, 20 years ago.
Bought it in
You can guess what this one's
2013,
gonna be.
Yeah,
This is a bigger structure. Probably.
probably.
So even if you got the building for $1, you'd have what, 3 million maybe into?
I
Oh,
can't,
Mayor.
I can't verify your
Yeah.
number.
More than 3?
Yeah, but
Well, where would we find that?
So I
Grants.
Yeah,
I have a question, maybe this one's for Brad. Is there a way to hold the company accountable for the environmental damage they're leaving behind by pulling out?
There's a way to hold them accountable for all their obligations to the city and their property taxes as long as they own the property. If they're violating any environmental regulations, you can enforce those.
But residual brownfield type,
If there's
Things.
contamination that you know about, you could probably enforce it, but if you have to go and investigate, that's not something you can figure out until
too late.
such a time as the new owner, whoever that is, goes in and says, oh, here's the issue.
and I don't know that it would necessarily be contaminated in the same.
Well, to
way
be
that Hanchett
redeveloped, it would
was.
more than likely need brownfield dollars.
I mean, if you're aware that they're violating any, EPA or laws from Eagle, then now would be the time to report them so that they can be held accountable.
I'm not aware of anything,
Yeah.
let the record stay.
My biggest concern is
implying
that the
anything.
day they leave, that building will be very easy to get into. And our police department will be there all the time trying to keep folks out of the building. Because you put plywood over the doors and windows, a group of humanity will try to be in there to get out of the elements. And if they start a fire in there to warm up, it's gonna be very dangerous. Everything's coated in oil and it's gonna be really dangerous. So what happens if they don't, how do you keep them patrolling?
So essentially, they're gonna create a public nuisance
Oh.
by pulling out is.
And there are,
That's my
Is there,
worry.
is there a?
You guys go there
legal
now,
method?
do you, or not
there's
much?
an enforceable
No.
method to hold them accountable for creating a public nuisance and force them to make the building safe and
Okay,
You can do
Well,
that,
and
right?
right now, I mean, they've been good partners over the years. We have no reason to believe that they're gonna pull out and it's gonna become a,
And the issue becomes if they go bankrupt and pull out and there's no money left, then chasing them for that enforcement just becomes problematic, but there's
Correct.
a legal avenue to do it.
I think when we look at rezoning and we look at the housing study, we look at potential uses for that property, but I would not be in support of purchasing it at this time.
Is anyone like to direct Mark to make an offer?
thank you.
I don't think so.
They pay us.
It'll become our problem, Mark, won't it?
I do have an email into the state brownfield person asking if there's any programs that she's aware of or grant money that could help us in this situation in the future, possibly.
Hanchett, you got a big grant, Mark?
Yes, EDA grant.
EDA?
Yeah, federal EDA grant. Haven't had many in the history of our area
Economic
that
development, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
yeah.
Federal.
Yeah.
And that was a big grant.
It was to replace the bridge and that was all wrapped
So
together.
the Hanchett
Yes,
pull out.
yep, that was a big,
We
that
could
was
put
a-
another bridge right next to that one if they're interested.
If you have to have a bridge, we'll get one, huh? Yeah, as I
Yeah, I
said,
was
Mayor,
gonna
I
say-
think,
If none of the commissioners are interested in making an offer, that part's sealed. You
yes,
just tell them,
yes.
we're not making an offer, then see where they go. The next might be, would you take it? Then the question comes,
Isn't
would we take it?
But that only happens if they suggest such a thing, I think.
Except who's gonna buy it, and then it'll
Yep.
go
Right.
sheriff's sale and, right? Maybe someone buy it,
Mayor,
for a
you-
play area.
You're not wrong. It's just,
Doesn't do any good.
on this day right now.
Are we done with our work session? Mark?
Nothing else to add, Mayor.
Michelle?
I'm good,
You have us here, this is the subject.
I'm good, Mayor.
Anybody else?
Mayor, as
Oh,
much as I
dear.
said, I had nothing else to add. so we have 3 meetings in June. We have our next regular scheduled meeting, I think, is on the 16th. And then we have a joint meeting on the 23rd. Help me here.
With the planning commission.
With the planning commission, and that is to sort of dive into redoing the zoning ordinance.
So our ordinance is being audited right now by our consultant, and then she's gonna come back and present the audit to
For that
both-
joint meeting.
for that joint meeting and give you an idea of what changes, at least we need to have discussions about.
And on top of that, we are actually, so that would be our joint meeting would start at 6:30, but we were hoping, I was hoping that the commission would start the meeting at 5:30 for you only, because we are going to bring to you in July the rate study, rate recommendations for the sewer project. So as part of all the grant money and the bonding in the big sewer project, the state analyzes your rates. And they want to make sure that your rates are up to speed to be able to pay the debt that you're incurring. And that very much likely is gonna come back with them recommending or quasi-demanding some level of an increase. And I didn't want to bring that to you, it has to be adopted on July 7th, our first meeting. And I hate to bring that to you when you haven't looked at it. So I thought, well, maybe we could meet early on the 23rd.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday,
What is it?
isn't it?
Monday, I think.
I think it's the
Monday?
next
I'm
Monday.
sorry, I was thinking planning commission meets on Wednesdays,
You're-
that's,
yeah,
We're gonna
They
do
do.
together on a Monday.
okay.
Yeah, we're together on a Monday,
And
man.
you want us to come at 5:30.
Right, and then we would tackle that, it would just be a study session of, well, here's what we have found with this rate study, here's what it looks like, or maybe it'll say your rates are fine. Maybe I'm being, I'm prejudging what they're gonna come back with, we don't know. But, and
Who's
then,
they?
the rate study folks are the, financial municipal advisor, Bedzinski. His name's Andy Campbell, and he has his partner, they work on it together. We had to get a new municipal advisor. Am I using the right term, Lorraine?
I think
so.
Registered municipal. advisor.
Yeah, municipal advisor. We had to get, Mike Gormley retired.
He did retire.
Mike Gormley retired, and so we had to get this, I think it's Bedzinski, and the guy who runs it, his name's Andy Campbell. He's tackling the rate analysis and, studying how we do it, what we do. And it's gonna come back to us with a bunch of information, and I
It'll
just.
be done by July 20.
Right, the idea was we would have it to adopt on July 7th, and he would have it for us as a study session on the 23rd. It's just way out of our norm, and I hadn't had a chance, I thought maybe we could, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Are you cooking, Kathy?
Cooking?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I could bring a pot of chili.
Idea?
So my question is, how long are we expecting the presentation to be? Because physically, I can get here legally at 5:20 if there's not bad traffic.
Yeah,
So
I don't, we could start at 5:45.
this is the first I'm hearing of it. So do we need the full hour before the other meeting, or?
Well, if you do it at 6, they're all gonna be walking in here
Right.
while you're doing it.
Right.
So, I don't know that it would take an hour, but to start at 6, I don't think
No, that's not
makes
Okay.
sense. So.
We could do it after, like at 8:30 at night.
I'm cool doing everything after. I'm just saying, I'm a
I'm
little concerned. This is the first I'm hearing about it starting at 5:30.
Well, it's
Well,
it's
I
3
know
weeks
earlier
away,
today.
4 weeks away.
Well, yeah, I didn't think, I should have thought about it
Yeah.
earlier today, but I didn't.
I will make it work because I make everything work. 5:30
The
should
other
be
option
fine,
could
but
be, we could
please
pick,
don't start without me.
we could pick another
Sorry
day,
to say.
or we could just have it on
So wait,
we could just have it on July 7th, but I know they're really hoping you adopt it on July 7th.
Right.
That's the other part of that.
I think 5:30 should be fine. I just would hope that the meeting would hold off until I get here if traffic doesn't allow me to arrive.
Why don't I schedule a different day?
So just, let me,
Ruin another day.
so our next meeting is the 16th, correct?
That's our second, yeah.
And you're saying, Mark, that you wouldn't have that information
I didn't.
available by the 16th.
Maybe I can change that, but yes, that's what they were
Right.
saying to me. It's a logistical kind of
So, I mean,
issue.
it's still 2 weeks. I don't have a problem with 5:30.
Okay, let's do it then. Okay. We'll start early, so Amanda will miss it. Get after her.
Mayor,
He's
Don't you
just
stir
joking.
things.
He's just joking. I'll have to,
Anything
I'll
else
have to
anyone
nail
has,
him to the
Mark?
wall.
Anything else? Public, anything? We're adjourned.